Okay, take one.
Some of my first memories are moments alongside my family, surrounded by the sound of music. I can picture being maybe around 7 at my aunt's wedding. I remember that my dad's band had played during the reception. I was a similar age, maybe 5, at my uncle's 50th birthday party. My dad's band played there too. My dad and my uncle, they're both drummers, and I remember that my uncle had stepped in for my dad for a few songs. I wasn't tall enough to watch from over the crowd, so my mom had helped me by standing me up on top of a chair. The memory is hazy now, but what stands out to me most is the feeling of connection. I remember seeing my uncle smile as he steps in for my dad. I remember watching my family dance. Mostly, I remember feeling the warmth of this moment. Ever since then, I've been chasing similar experiences of music, hoping to one day feel this moment of connection again. It's a connection with the sound, yes, but I think a bigger part of it is a connection with the space. It makes me wonder what it is in particular about a space that allows for music to take on this almost magical and special power. 15 years later, chasing the answer to these questions, I find myself in Richmond, Virginia, a city filled with oral history. At one time, the voices of the Powhatan Nation Algonquin Native Americans filled this land. Eventually, this was interrupted by the sounds of war as English settlers encroached upon their homes. The voice of Patrick Henry's "Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death" speech inspired Richmond in 1775 to enter the American Revolution. Almost an entire century later, the voices of the auction block rang through the streets as Richmond became the largest slave market in the Confederacy, as well as the capital of the Confederate States of America. In 1865, the sounds of Inferno spread throughout the city as Richmond burned at the hands of the Civil War. Eventually, the city was able to rebuild itself, filled with the sounds of a thriving and free African American community, as well as an expanding economy. Today, the area has been revitalized, streets filled with the sound of a bustling and growing community, a community that thrives upon the creative art of music.
Yep. Oh, I see. It's like just, sure. That's a good thing. Hey.
So, if you don't mind,
Sure.
could you say your name, say where we are, and give us a nice clap?
Okay. Stephen Leckie. We are on Browns Island along the riverfront, and take one.
Perfect. Stephen, how long have you been here with Browns Island and Venture Richmond? What's your relationship?
Yeah, so I've been working with Venture Richmond, which is a small nonprofit here in the city since 2005. I came on board to help produce the National Folk Festival at the time and other events. So this will be my 18th year working for that organization. My most memorable moments on the island, we had a band called Zach Brown Band in 2009, and they had a single called Chicken Fried that literally had just come out, and it was a free concert for Friday Cheers back when Cheers was free, and 16,000 people showed up. It was crazy. I have a giant picture in my office of a shot that we got from overhead, and it's shoulder to shoulder from the stage to the back of the island. And in fact, I don't think I've ever seen the island so crowded since then. We had a band, Alabama Shakes, in 2012 play that was just about to take off. And that's sort of the model for Friday Cheers, which is an event Venture Richmond runs, is trying to get bands on their way up. So I've had a lot of great memories with that.
Do you know much about the history of Browns Island? Could you talk about that for a moment?
Gosh, I wish I knew more, but it's a man-made island. The surrounding area, there's the American Civil War Center, better known as Tredegar, was used to make ammunition, steel works, iron works, things like that. Browns Island, over the last 30 years, has sort of transformed into more of a public park space and more for events. Frankly, in a given year, it's a park 300 days out of the year, and it's an event venue maybe 40 to 60 days out of the year. So really, for more than anything, it's a park. But we've done things to help the infrastructure for our events, and that's things like putting in water lines for food vendors, putting in different power locations for people able to plug up sound equipment or what it might be. A lot of times people are like, Richmond's the next Austin or this or that, and it's like, we really aren't. Austin is a giant city, Nashville's a giant city, and those are embedded as like musical cities. I think what makes Richmond so great is that it's a very tight-knit community of musicians. It's very almost incestuous. It's like everybody plays with everybody, but also having VCU here in town, which is an amazing art school and music school, there's always this sort of continuation of creative, young, talented people.
Do you see music having a social impact in Richmond?
I think now more than ever, musicians are using their voice to speak to injustices and speak to what the current climate of the country is, which is a rough one. And during 2020, with the monuments coming down, you'd go out to Monument Avenue, and whenever I'd be out there walking, there'd be somebody playing, and whether it was as simple as drummers drumming or literally a DJ doing something, it sort of goes hand in hand of that cultural experience.
My name's Isaac Gibson. I'm the lead singer of a band called 49 Winchester.
How long have you guys been together?
We've been doing this 8 years now. We started the band kind of right out of high school. We've been doing it ever since.
Nice. And you guys are from Virginia,
We
right?
are. We're from down in the southwest corner of the state over in Russell County.
Tell me a little bit about the community that you came from and how your music has affected it.
It's a little small town. We were from a little small town way up in the mountains, kind of on the edge of the coal fields. Not far from the Kentucky border, or the Tennessee border for that matter. It's called Castlewood. It's a small town, but it's got pretty rich musical heritage just because of how much bluegrass and country music sort of developed out of the that part of Appalachia. And although it's a small place, there's a pretty cool little music scene there, man. It's a cool spot.
What do you hope that someone who comes to your guys' show leaves with?
Man, I hope they leave with some merch. No, I'm just kidding. Our thing is about making the music that we want to play, that we want to hear, and we know that people latch onto that just inherently. You know what I mean? When you're making a product that's true to itself and it's kind of uncompromising in the way that you spread it and grow it. We've done things kind of the same from day one, so I hope that people can latch onto that authenticity. You know what I mean? I hope they see something in 49 that makes them go, man, that's real country music. That's cool.
You talk about this authenticity and staying true to your roots and everything. How do you guys, as a band, institute that into what you do every day?
It takes effort. It's easy to fall into that hole of trying to be one thing or the other. Trying to make radio hits, trying to do this, trying to be very specifically country, trying to be very specifically rock, whatever it is. And we've always kind of rode that line between the two. You know what I mean? And that's always just sort of been our MO is make the music that we love and that resonates with us in our soul. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of how it comes out. I think it's that natural. Staying true to our self thing is just something that sort of happens naturally, I think, as a result of keeping at it, doing things the same way, doing things the right way every night, and keeping your nose to the grindstone.
We might not be the next Austin, but what is next for Richmond? Where does Richmond go from here as a city?
Oh man, that's a good question. Where does Richmond go from here? I think Richmond needs to continue to support its local artists and be mindful that places become cool and hip and desirable a lot of the times after people make that cool and hip, and to not price those folks out. And I worry that we're starting to see a real shift of pushing people out of neighborhoods that they've helped develop, and it happens across the country, sense of gentrification almost, where it's you don't want to lose the coolness of it and the edginess of it. You don't want to make it too stale and bland and generic.
It was my birthday last week, and someone gave me a record player. I don't have a lot of records yet, but I've been to a few stores in the past few days, and have already fallen in love with the feeling of flipping through a stack of records, trying to find the one that speaks best to me. I decided to make a new tradition for myself. Every time I go to a record store, I'm planning on buying a record that I don't know anything about out of the $1 bin, totally at random. It's only been a week that I've had this piece of machinery, but I can already tell that there's something special about listening to music this way. It transports you into the past, a world that exists only between the tiny grooves that somehow create this beautiful sound. It's like entering a portal, and it helps weave the past together into the present. When I first got to Richmond, I never left my room. It was the place where I slept, the place where I did all of my work, and the place where I socialized. It was my cave. I didn't realize at the time, but this was causing a lot of unhappiness in my life, and I needed to escape. That's when I discovered that there was more to Richmond than the box that I lived inside. Eventually, I found my places. These places became my escape, but they weren't really my connection. I noticed that in getting out of my box, in escaping, I never once left behind either a speaker or my headphones. Listening to music was what helped me connect. And it helped me find Richmond.
Yeah.
Cool. So the camera's not there, we're just chatting.
Yeah, we're just having a conversation.
I got you.
You want to do the honors?
Please. Prabir Mehta at Gallery 5. Cheers.
Nice.
All right, Prabir. How long have you been here at Gallery 5?
A long time. I used to come here to play music when it first opened in 2005. It was started by a few DIY artists, community advocates, wanting to keep some sort of community engagement aspect while also elevating voices for, artists that may not have had a chance in the past. In 2005, I started playing here, and there was a certain magic to everything that kind of pulled me in. So I quickly started working with this team here, and in 2016, there was talk of the person who owned this building selling it. And I figured, okay, well, this is a worthy cause to be involved with, is preserving this lovely hub that has been created by the arts community, truly. I mean, the staff and the board are here working on things, but we're working on things for the arts community. They're the ultimate user of this space. And it takes an entire village of board members and staff members and artists and musicians and panelists and community advocates and vendors and food makers and spirit makers and brewers and yoga and educational folks that put on workshops. So it takes all of us to make this place what it is.
I think you could speak for a moment about what this space was before it was Gallery 5?
Yeah, this space has been a lot of things over time. It was initially a fire and police museum when it was built in the mid-1800s. And I could be wrong, but I believe this was the first fire station in Henrico County, which currently is many miles that way now, but that was back when the old district lines included this as Henrico County, I think. It was not used for a long time, and it had a bunch of intermittent uses. We've heard people come by saying that this was a boxing ring for a little bit. We've had other people come by saying that this used to be a daycare facility for a little bit.
What is it that's special about Richmond to you, and why do you think people claim Richmond is such a musical haven?
We live in a city where on any given night. You can see something like a awesome metal band on one stage, and a great salsa band on another stage, and a great jazz band on another stage. Whatever, I mean, we have such an abundance of musical talent, artistic talent here. I think it's a big selling point for being in Richmond, you know? It raises the quality of life, because to live in a place that's not inspiring could become, maybe daunting. And Richmond has an abundance of talent and inspiration, and I think that's why so many people care about Richmond. You know, it's not just about its antiquated history of a war, that is history, and it needs to be examined, and we need to make sure that we're correcting all the problems that has caused, but that's not our entire history. Our history is being made right now by the people that are doing the wonderful things that they're doing. We also have a great collection of cultures that kind of intersect here. I grew up with the Indian culture here in Richmond when I moved here from India, and it was nice that my parents were able to rather quickly find Indian friends, and find some folks to talk to and kind of understand what America is and how to live here. It's a great, diverse population. I think that's a big strength we have. I personally have been living in Jackson Ward for over 2 decades now. I think it's the greatest neighborhood on earth. I love every single street and person that I encounter. Being a part of that community is super important. A few years ago, we started this thing called the 50 Mile Fest, which essentially is a celebration of things that are within 50 miles of here. Things that are within 50 miles, but also right here in this neighborhood, Jackson Ward was once the home of jazz music. Jazz to Richmond is through black culture. It's a black art form. It's the greatest art form, in my opinion, that America has created. Me being a musician, I'm a little biased there, but Gallery 5 is currently doing a monthly jazz night to keep that alive, and we make it free to the community. Again, Richmond's diverse talent of jazz musicians is immense.
What do you think is next for this space, for Richmond's music scene? Where do we go from here?
The future. I hope everybody's keeping in mind that the past is, in fact, the past. And that doesn't mean we just put it away. We must keep it in our minds and learn from it. And to not focus on the past so much that we jeopardize the current landscape, and not focus so much on the current landscape that we jeopardize the pathways to the future. It's all important. The past is super important, the present is very important, and the future, some say, is even more important,
What is your earliest memory of music?
My earliest memory of music is kind of hard to trace because I can't remember any memories without it. I was born into a musical family. My uncles and aunts and my mom and my dad have always been musical. And, my first memory of the first time I fell in love is Ben Folds 5 because, she was all about Ben Folds 5 and introduced me to that. And I was like, so now every time I think about, the first person I fell in love with, I think about a few songs, a handful of songs. I remember buying my first car and thinking, you know, whatever song is on the radio, when I turn the ignition on, is going to be the first tape that I buy. And I turned it on, and it was Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I was like, all right. And I went to the store, and I bought a Chili Peppers album, and it was my first tape for my first car, and I felt so, you know, life filters into a vessel. I guess like I am the vessel, but the filter that lets life come through it is music. Like everything I understand or do or communicate or am a part of is because of music. So if we were to remove music, there'd be I'd be pretty boring, I think, you know, or my life would feel that way at least.
I've been working on this documentary for a long time now. At this point, Richmond is slowly becoming something closer to what I would call a home. I think that it's music that is becoming the gateway to this homecoming. I was walking around downtown today with my camera and randomly found myself starting conversations with strangers. I'm usually not this sociable, but I talk to people about their outfits, or the weather, or the contents of their store. I think it's because I'm getting more comfortable here in Richmond. In these interactions, I decided to keep my camera off. I didn't want to interrupt the moment, but instead I can try to describe them to you. I bought a Father's Day present from my dad. The woman who sold it to me said that it would make him really happy and that it was a great gift. We found ourselves deep in a conversation about wrapping paper. I was flipping through records at a store, and a woman noticed one that had caught my eye. It was Elton John's Greatest Hits album. We started talking about Elton John and how he was her mother's favorite artist. My mom also loves Elton John. A guy on the street told me he liked my hat. That's a good hat. I like that hat, bro. I liked his shirt, and I told him that. I'll never see him again, probably, but this little moment was kind of what made my day.
What's up, baby boy?
Not even kidding.
This is Jack. This is a documentary for the DIY scene.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking fire.
Yeah, it's cool. It's gonna be fun.
Where are you from?
Upstate New York.
Okay, where?
Yeah, near like Syracuse area.
We're from Warwick.
Yeah. I still have all of your stuff on here.
Yeah.
Are we allowed cuts in this?
Yeah, necklace.
My name's Benny. I live at the Deck, and I work with these guys to put on shows and stuff. I go by Sub Rosa for my music stuff, and through the Deck I work on social media management along with doing video stuff and helping out with booking and vending and stuff like that.
I'm Rosie. I just moved here from Detroit from Hive Mind, and I literally do nothing here. I just kind of like leech off their success.
What's up? Hi, my name's Poet. I'm here at the Deck with my friends. Yeah.
Last one. You wanna wrap us up?
Yeah, I'm Tommy, also known as House Sick. I got to Richmond because I had no idea.
what I was gonna do, and I was too broke for like college, so I was like, I don't want to go into debt yet, so I'm gonna go into debt, but not for school. So I didn't think I was gonna go into dude. Oh my god, that's so much credit card debt. I gotta stop buying music equipment. So stupid.
I've never been to one of these underground shows, house shows, whatever before. I'm really excited.
This is so different from every other one.
No idea what's gonna happen.
Yeah, no, the students are out of town for one, so we don't know what's going to come up. And also, it's Memorial Weekend, so we don't know if people are coming in or leaving, or we don't know what's going on. But I think the last show was like a good 600 people. So we're expecting a lot smaller.
But that's the thing. If it's a big crowd, then we don't know what the fuck we're gonna do when the students are back in town. So
I mean, because like the artists are literally in the pit, like moshing with everybody else, and then they go on stage.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have that at like even at like the Camel or at other small venues really that often. Like, there's nothing like this is our house, you know, and there's nothing like intimidating about coming to a show at somebody's house for free.
We do it donation based, so it's kind of like if you do want to support artists and stuff like that.
I mean, you can. Well, it's not like we got rent or anything.
They're drawn to the, like you said, like the intimacy and like the collaboration, the energy, and just like we try and make it a comfortable
A true like
space.
freedom of expression in art, and it doesn't matter like who you are, like whatever you are, like whatever, like everyone is welcome here to express themselves however they feel. You know what I mean? This is everyone is welcome here.
You can see all your homies play a set at like a house show.
Sure.
And that's how it should be. You know, it shouldn't be hard to
play a show if you want to play a show.
How can Richmond as a city and the music culture acknowledge the past while also creating a moment in the present?
It's like
be diverse and be okay with that, because a lot of people don't want to be, you know, like
our mission statement here was to make a comfortable environment where people can have fun, and it's like
and feel safe.
There's so much
messed
awful
up
shit
stuff
that happens within like the music industry, and that's the thing. There's people in Richmond. There are bands in Richmond that have that same issue. They're just regular everyday people.
we're like the new face of it. Like all those old heads, all the other shit, like fuck that, like
The toxic hardcore
yeah,
scene.
we're like this is going to be the new face of Richmond.
And that's the thing, people can see that here.
I didn't realize you were there. That scared the shit. We need to start running car. Yo, what's going on? How you doing? It's so good seeing you.
I need to
I moved away, I'm back to my home. I stayed out of My life's slowly built. Don't look back, don't rewind. What if I could've tried a little harder, I guess. Try to save what we had, and I'm sorry I left. Back on Main Street again, got your face in your hands, saying don't ever leave. Now I'm sorry I left. Wishing I could pretend, tell her see you again. But I know that's a lie. Come a time, things end. When midnight rolls and your eyes close, where's your mind go? I don't know. That was an experience. Shit, I've never done that.
We are a donations-based venue. So up there, we got our Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, and then like following stuff if y'all want to follow us or some shit. I don't know. I'm about to cook some hot dogs.
It's only gonna get bigger. I can't wait. I'll be back.
I used to not know the names of neighborhoods here in Richmond. Places like Jackson's Ward, Shacko Bottom, The Fan, they all sounded familiar, but I definitely couldn't point them out to you. Now, I can use maps like these to trace through Richmond's history. Here's the James River, where the Powhatan Nation Native Americans lived alongside. Here are the parts of the city that burned at the hands of the Confederate Army. Here's where activists fought in support of the BLM movement. If I look, I can find the places from along my own personal journey. The place I've come to call home. A place where I've laughed. A place where I've cried. And a place where I've been in love. We can even find the places that we've experienced together. Browns Island, Gallery 5, the deck. I like maps because they don't necessarily just have to be for streets or for buildings. This could easily be a map of people. It could be a map of all the places that I didn't film, or the places that didn't let me film. It could be a map of places that has music and places that don't. This could be a map of places that we have yet to explore.
I know you don't always tell the truth, but girl, you know I love it when you do. We can take a ride out somewhere far. I'll find out exactly who you are. Well, if you could talk to me, tell me in what language would you speak? Would it be in tongues or a foreign melody? Won't you come and show me now? Then I'll rise up to you, just like a helium balloon. You know you take me so high. Meet me in amber skies. I can feel this mountain call my name. We feel the same way somehow. This is just what I've been waiting for. Won't you come